Greetings, Sanbonani High Orange Army. Welcome to yet another episode of In Conversation Special Edition with myself, Lelo Wagankosi. And today we have a very special guest, a woman in STEM. She is Professor Annah Moteetee. She is within the Science Department and she is a professor and an executive dean. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof. How are you this morning?
Thank you for having me. I am good, thank you.
I am also good. So may you please start by telling us more about yourself, your background, and your area of expertise within the institution.
Right. Okay, so I am Annah Moteetee, as you've already said. So I am a professor of botany. Some people call it plant biology or plant science. But my area of expertise within botany is an area that is called plant taxonomy. So taxonomists go out in the field, they find plants, they name the plants, they identify them, they classify them. For example, is it a grass, is it a tree? If it's a grass, what grass it is, they give them names. But of late, I'm also interested in an area that is called ethnobotany. So ethnobotany is basically a study of the relationships between plants and people. So basically, we study, it's an area where we study what people use plants for. But my main interest in that regard is medicinal plants. Specifically, I'm interested in testing these plants to find out if they are used medicinally. If you test them, for example, if it's a plant that is used for infectious diseases, you test it against the bacteria or the microorganisms that actually cause that particular illness. For example, if it's a plant is used for diarrhea, you will test it against those bacteria that actually cause or that are linked with that particular disease.
Very interesting, Prof. I didn't know that plants and people have a special relationship, and now I know. So that is why this conversation is very important for everyone. So for those who might not know, tell us about your journey within the institution. How long have you been with UJ, and how has your journey been?
Well, my tenure at University of Johannesburg is as old as the University of Johannesburg. So I joined the University of Johannesburg in 2005. But before that, I actually studied at the RAU. So I'm one of those people who hold a certificate from an institution that does not exist. But I'm very proud of my RAU doctoral certificate. So then I started in 2005. When I tell people I started on the 1st of January 2005, and people are like, you started on the 1st. But I mean, in January of that year. I actually started as a technical lecturer, a term that does not even exist. So then I climbed the ranks, obviously. But first, let me say that when I was a technical lecturer, I used to lecture at the Soweto campus, and then I used to lecture at the Davidton campus. I don't know if I don't know if everybody knows that UJ actually had a campus in Davidton. So I used to drive to Soweto, teach there, and then drive all the way to Davidton to teach at the campus there. So then I obviously climbed the ranks. I then became a senior lecturer, associate professor, and then the rest is history. Administratively, I served as head of department of botany, which is my home department. But before that, I was actually vice dean of the Faculty of Science. Then I became head of department. And then I did a short stint at the postgraduate school, where I was a senior director before I became the executive dean of the Faculty of Science.
Okay, very interesting, Prof. And for you, happy anniversary as
Thank
well,
you.
because you are also turning 20 this year with the institution.
Thank you.
So what has been the most significant change for you since you've been within the institution?
Well, I mean, obviously the personal growth, but what I am particularly mostly proud of about UJ is the fact that UJ, when it started, actually was committed to the journey of transformation. So a lot of things happened. I was actually one of the transformation facilitators when we started the journey of transformation. It was a very difficult journey actually, because one didn't even not know what does it mean to be a transformation facilitator. So you had to talk to people, had very difficult conversations with people that have been in the system for many years to explain to them, because there was a different connotation to transformation actually. People thought it simply meant employment equity, which it didn't. So you had to explain to the professors, and I was quite junior at the time, I had to explain to the professors, what do we mean by transformation and what do we need to do, actually. So looking back, I think that as a transformation facilitator, I have actually contributed, I think, positively to UJ's journey of transformation.
Okay.
UJ was very committed. There was a transformation charter, there was a transformation implementation plan, which I think UJ executed very well. There was a lot of consultation, actually. It just didn't happen, without consultation, but there was a lot of consultation about everything, what we call University of Johannesburg, blah, 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 blah. But another thing that I'm very proud of is actually when people know what you mean when you say University of Johannesburg. I remember being in a plane coming from Cape Town one morning, and the person that was sitting next to me we started conversing, obviously, and then he asked me, where do you work? And I said, University of Johannesburg. And he said, oh, and he mentioned the other university that I will not mention. And I said, no, University of Johannesburg. So now people know when you talk about University of Johannesburg exactly what you're talking about. So that is a very proud moment for me.
Yeah, putting it on the map.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so also I know that you've encountered challenges while on this journey with our institution, but apart from those challenges, what would you say helped you overcome them within your journey?
Well, I think it's just commitment. Also, what's important is that the consultations that I spoke about, it was bottom up. It wasn't, top down. So it was easier, sort of, to walk through those challenges. I've lost my word, but it becomes easier to actually walk through those challenges. So you need commitment, you need support. So there was a lot of support, indeed, from management as well, because the institution itself was actually committed to doing this. So it was very easy to actually get through those challenges.
Lovely. Yeah. So on a lighter note, what is one of the fondest memories that you have with UJ?
Sure, I've got many fond memories. Everything that UJ does, the future walks, the staff day. Although sometimes I feel like my faculty should actually win these challenges, but the staff day for me is one of those fond memories. So I've got almost everything actually that we do at UJ is memorable.
Okay.
Whether it's personal growth, being promoted as a woman in science, climbing through the ranks until where I am now. It's obviously, I think, good enough for you to have fond memories. But all the events that we organize, my faculty actually also hosts what we call a heritage braai, and it's also very, 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 very nice. We celebrate diversity, so the fact that we're able to do that in South Africa, I think it means that we actually have encompassed the diversity that we have at UJ.
Okay, Prof.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of women in STEM, and to have a woman sitting here and having a conversation with me in that specific field, when we spoke about your background, we didn't get to know what inspired you to actually go into that field. What was the inspiration behind everything?
I think I was probably one of those lucky ones, because the job practically landed on my lap, if I can put it that way. So I grew up in Lesotho, born and bred. I went to the University of Lesotho, and when I completed my degree, they said, we've got a post for you. And I never looked back, although I actually wanted to become a medical doctor. So when I saw this opportunity, I thought, oh, here's an opportunity, grab it. Going to varsity again to do medicine, that's going to take you forever. Here you can start earning. And then the rest is history, basically,
I believe that it does interlink, because now you are also exploring the medicine part of things, even though you didn't get to study medicine. So it's a win-win situation.
I suppose so. And I can say just a little bit, also the reason why I'm interested in medicinal plants is where I grew up is a very rural area. Every plant has some use, whether it's for food, whether it's for medicine and so on. So whenever I fell sick, my grandmother would just go out in the yard. I grew up in a farm. Out in the yard, grab some plant and give it to me. So now I'm interested to know what is in this plant that actually makes it work in a way. We don't really have to validate why medicinal plants work, but as scientists, we try to validate to see why does this plant work, for example, and that is where drug discovery comes in as well. Yeah.
Very interesting. And last but not least, Prof, may you tell us something that you think our audience should know about yourself and about the institution that they might not know?
Well, I'm sure, like I said before, I don't think a lot of people know that actually UJ had a campus, which used to be Vista and Davidton. And I'm sure that some people may not know that I'm actually a grandmother. So that's a personal thing. I'm a grandmother of 3. I have twins who are almost 12, and then their sister is 3 months. Naughty as anything, yeah. So I think a lot of people don't know that I'm a grandmother. Yeah.
That is very cute. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us today. And that is how we wrap up today's episode of In Conversation with myself, Lelo.